welcome back to the Chosen Life podcast with Jonathan A. Hacohen, partner Kormans LLP. So I don't just do podcasts and write motivational system books, life system books. I also close real estate transactions and corporate and wills and all that fun stuff. And who do I do it a lot with? It is my friend, the realtor to the stars. We met through business, and life made us friends and brothers. He is George Tremis, back for another week. George, how you doing, buddy?
Very good. Thank you. Glad to be back.
So last week we were talking about, meditation and finding our life and, and where direction's going, getting inspired ideas. And we were talking off air last week, and I said, I'm going to wait till this week to talk about it. But man, we get together, you and I, for lunch about once a month, sorry. And we get together and, we inspire each other. We share stories and, it's kind of like a power powwow.
Yeah, definitely.
And it's just, sharing energy and testosterone and just let's freaking rule the world, kind of thing. And you touching upon an interesting subject, because something that you are actively, seeking in your life, something that people have asked me before and I've thought about. And it's the whole idea of coaching, life coaching and motivating people. And it's amazing, I always say, if you're going to be any kind of teacher, coach, man, you better be able to coach and teach yourself. Because, man, if you can't inspire yourself, how the heck are you going to inspire other people? It's kind of like one of those things, I go to a barber, but they have, bad haircuts, I go to a clothing guy and he's wearing like ratty clothing. I go to get a personal trainer at the gym and he's not jacked. And it's like, for you to coach me on what it is, I have to believe that you are doing it for yourself, and you got to be doing it at that most highest level.
Absolutely.
So I got to say, man, George Tremis, life coach. Yes, please. I can see this. Absolutely.
Really? Oh, thank you, brother. I appreciate that. Yeah. I mean, touching on what you were saying, I've noticed the same thing. It's really hard to believe somebody's authentic and their authenticity when they don't walk their talk. Right. So whether it's the person at the gym saying, oh, you know what, eat less sugar. And then meanwhile, you can tell that they don't do it. So it's like, wait a minute, do as I say, not as I do.
Right.
It doesn't work. But what I find happens a lot, and I didn't seek out to be doing life coaching. I was more seeking sales coaching, but I find that if you're good in your life, you're better in sales because you connect better with people. So it's all interrelated. And that's kind of the platform for the Sales Academy that I'm growing and developing, which is that you have to have your mind right. You have to have your skills trained and your systems integrated to support the two. But it all starts with the right mindset. So I guess that's part of life. But what I notice is when I'm speaking and delivering, let's say, my Money Mountain workshop, which is incredibly popular, I just had the honor of delivering that session with some workshops to a bunch of folks from Jiffy Lube and Switch Tire. Great places, by the way, Switch Tire. And afterwards, people came up and they said, do you do coaching? I'd really like to work with you. I can identify myself in your story and what you said. And then they find that commonality, that connection. They understand that authentically I could help them because I walked the path before them, even in cases sometimes where they're older than me. And, they kind of say it ironically. They're like, yeah, it's funny. I'm older than you, but still I can tell that you can help me on my path. So yeah, it's actually something that's being pulled out of me as opposed to something that I consciously thought to deliver. Because I'm great at sales. I'll be honest. There's no point in being modest. I can easily role play or teach people on sales and coach them really well. I just never thought about life coaching.
Well, for people turning in for the first time, and they missed out on a lot of great George Tremis episodes because you've been here from day one with us and on so many episodes. You brought up before the Sales Academy. For those people learning you for the first time, George Tremis, Tremis.
That's right.
Tell us more about the Sales Academy.
So the Sales Academy eventually is going to have an online component. Right now, it's primarily myself, doing proof of concept, developing the curriculum, developing the programs, working with some great partners that I have on my staff and team. But I'm the lead sole trainer right now at this point in time. But really, what we do is different in the sense of we understand more of the why behind the buy. So I'm very big on psychology. So, I'm finishing the first draft, or I have finished the first draft edit of my first book. And the title to be shared when launched. But essentially a big piece of it is that I try to help people understand why things work. So it's one thing for me to, tell you, listen, if you pick up the phone and you're going to make a cold call, you're probably better off saying, hi, Jonathan. And then you'd say yes.
Okay, let's role play.
Okay. All right.
Ding, ding, ding. Hello, this is Jonathan.
Oh, you even said your name. Perfect. Because a lot of people say, is this Jonathan? So as soon as you say it like that, there's uncertainty in your voice, and that creates uncertainty in you. Plus, you identify me as a typical telemarketer salesperson.
I don't know who you are. I just see a phone number. I can't tell. So I'm like, it's Jonathan. How can I help you?
So I say, Jonathan. And then you say yes. And I'd say, Jonathan, my name is George Tremis. I'm going to be straightforward with you. This is a cold call. Now, I've interrupted your day, so you can either give me 30 seconds so we can see if it's worth talking more, or you can hang up on me. Which would you prefer?
As long as you're not selling me Windows or crypto, I'm happy to talk to you.
So what I did was I addressed reactance. So everybody has this thing called reactance in them, right? So where they feel that their rights or their abilities or their self-determinism and choice is taken away. And that's what puts their guard up. But if you can bring that down by making them feel that they're in control, even though you're leading the conversation, it takes that away and it allows for an open, more receptive mind to continue the conversation. So the difference is that I explain things like reactance in the book, etc., because we start with the mind. We want to understand human psychology and the fact that we're biological computers to be able to teach you the skills and create systems to integrate. Whereas a lot of books and trainers, they're going to start right at the skills and scripting. I mean, you know this from real estate, right?
Mm-hmm.
All the big names in real estate training, they're all talk about the scripting, and they all start with the script. Many of them don't understand what the psychology behind the script and why it works, which is when I'm coaching and teaching sales and doing role playing, that's what I explain afterwards to my participants and audience.
I'll tell you a funny one. Tell me if this is weird or not.
Okay.
So a guy knocks on my front door. I answer. It's in the middle of the afternoon.
Mm-hmm.
Says to me, it's nice to meet you. I'm so-and-so. I heard you're so-and-so's brother. I said, actually, that is my brother.
Mm-hmm.
How'd you know? I heard we have a common friend. Anyways, I heard you live here. I can't find your brother. So you know what? I figured I'd try your house. Maybe you're going to be home. And I brought you this coffee. I'm thinking in my head, I don't know this guy. He brings me coffee. Don't know what the heck's in the coffee. Don't really want this guy's coffee, you know? I just feel really weird about the coffee. Everything was like throwing me off. Like, seemed like a nice enough. I still can't believe he found my address because they made it very difficult to find me. And he brings me a coffee at the same time. And he seemed very nice about it. And I said to him, I'll be honest with you. Keep the coffee, drink the coffee. I'm not going to drink your coffee. If I was with you at the cafe, I'd happily let you buy me a coffee.
Mm-hmm.
I don't take strange coffee off the street. That's just me.
Yeah.
Is that weird?
What you said or what he did?
Both.
I think you're being very straightforward, and that's a good thing too, because you're basically saying, this is my comfort zone. These are my boundaries. I appreciate the gesture. So you acknowledge the gesture, but you're like, this is my boundary. So you didn't allow somebody to, let's say, push through your boundaries based on a lack of them. What he did is very confusing and also a little bit concerning, because I'm not surprised that you make it difficult to find your home residence. So the fact that the person did it means they invested a lot of time, effort, energy, resources into doing so, which is kind of concerning. Even if they really do want to find your brother, why are they trying so hard to find him?
It would have been ultimately 30 seconds to just find me and to email me or call me and leave a message and say, hey, I got referred by so-and-so, would love to come meet you. Where's a good location? Not to show up at the person's house unannounced. So
was it legit, or was he trying to sell you something?
He was trying to sell my brother something.
Ah, okay.
No different. Somebody called me out of the blue and said, I heard about you, would love to have a coffee with you. And I said, oh, it's great, blah, blah. We got introduced. And so we actually went for the coffee. We had a great conversation for an hour and a half. And right as the conversation was finishing, he said, wait a minute, you're so-and-so's brother, right? I said, yeah. He goes, if you want to leave him one of my cards too, I heard he's great. I would love to meet him. And I realized he just spent an hour and a half working me just so he can get an access point to someone else. That's kind of crappy.
It flips it completely. It's an hour and a half of sliminess. So any rapport that was built up is turned into negative rapport.
Right.
Completely. It's the wrong thing to do.
What I would have done if I had to do it that angle, I would have built a relationship over time. And after getting to know the person, actually have a relationship, then let it happen organically. But to do it the first meeting and it comes straight, boom, it's not going to work.
Or if you're being authentic and sincere, it could be like, look, one day I want to talk to you about business, but first I want to get to know you. Is that fair? And then you can go from there, right? But one of the best examples of what you're talking about, and simple to remember, right, is when somebody says, hi, Jonathan, how are you doing today? I don't care. I'm not your friend. I don't know you. I'm some stranger. and it's disingenuous. And that lack of authenticity, we have alarm bells in us that go off because most of our psychology is based on primal brain survival, right? I mean, evolution is built into us. So as soon as something seems off, as soon as something seems distrustful, our negative kind of association comes up, right? It's all like pain, pleasure, fight, flight, or fear, that kind of thing.
You just made me think of another example. So another one of my good friends, and I know they're very busy, so they're probably not watching this particular one. And if they do, I'm sorry in advance, but you'll know it's you. And they'll call me up and they'll say, "Hey, Jonathan, how's your mom? How's your dog?" And you know what my answer is? "What do you want?" That's
Yeah.
it. That's it. You don't call me unless you want something. You really maybe do care, but I said it's one thing if you call me, and I explained over time. I said, if you actually call me to ask how my mom is, how my dog is, great. We'll talk about it. We'll be friendly, and that's it. That's where friends end. But when it's in need of something, it's just buttering me up to get to the. Let's just go. Let's just save time. I'm not offended. Let's just go to the meat and potatoes. Let's just get it going. What do you want?
Yeah, exactly. That's why, some of the great phone call sales trainers, they talk about, along with myself, the fact that get to the point. So if you're not going to use an opener where you're trying to bring down reactance, it should be, "Hey, Jonathan, I'm glad I got a hold of you. Look, the purpose of my call and why I'd like 30 seconds of your time is to explain and go."
See,
At least you appreciate the straightforwardness
yeah.
of it, right?
And the other point is like my partner David Korman always says, if you're selling something, know your audience. What do I mean by that? Let's say you want to sell something to a real estate lawyer.
Mm-hmm.
The worst time to call a real estate lawyer is Monday or Friday at 9 a.m. or at 5 p.m.
Yeah.
We just don't do that. You have to know the person's industry. You have to figure Monday, 9 a.m., most industries, right? Most people are coming from the weekend. They're inundated with phone calls, voice messages. What they don't want is somebody selling them something.
Mm-hmm.
You got to find that time when they're the most relaxed state and kind of weed them in. So it's funny kind of how that works with sales. And I realized it because I realized how people sell me things and then how I sell them back.
Mm-hmm.
But I got to say, from a sales point, I love doing it. I love sales.
Mm-hmm.
But I've never felt sales to me, for me, and what I do is ever sales. I'm about building relationships. And if a sale comes from it, great. If I never get a sale of it, but I've built a great relationship, it'll all come full circle for me.
Yeah. I mean, that becomes your network, your database of people, right? And you approach them in an authentic way, right? It wasn't disingenuous again. Because I really believe, especially if you're going to do something cold, whether it's a cold call, knock on a door, whatever it is, bring something of value. Bring something of value. And so I think a lot of rookie people or people that don't understand sales and they're thinking more of that sleazy sales style, they think that coming and being friendly and making you my buddy is bringing you something. You don't need another friend. You're not looking for me to become your buddy, right? So you either bring something of value or you're straight up about it. So for example, when I teach agents to knock on doors, they're all taught to bring like recent sales in the neighborhood. I don't do that. Anybody that's worked with me, I tell them to bring something of value. For me personally, I like slow down signs. And so I'll say, I do business in your neighborhood. I've noticed a lot of cars drive fast. I'm not lying. It's true. Everywhere people are driving fast in residential neighborhoods.
And they're texting and eating.
I'm like, I'm here to bring a sign, do a public service for this neighborhood. May I put this in your lawn? And as soon as they do it, I'm like, while I'm at it, would it offend you if I asked if you're planning on buying or selling in the next 6 months, 3 months? And then it's different because I brought something of value. I earned the right to their time.
Mm-hmm. I liked it. I like it. It's just at the end of the day, we all have to realize in most of our industries, we go to work, we go to school to work so we can make money and make a living, right? We want to be able to pay our bills. We want to have a nice lifestyle. We want to be able to eat. Want to be able to go to nice restaurants, maybe go on vacations, maybe retire one day. I don't know. Everybody has all sorts of different goals with it. Ultimately, even if you're not in direct sales, like you're not as a real estate agent, as a lawyer, where you dealing with a direct client, maybe you have a job where you're working for an employer and you move widgets or whatever you do, or you do calculations for somebody and you're an analyst.
Mm-hmm.
You still have to realize sales are sitting at every point in turn. Because at the end of the day, you have a boss, you need to make your boss happy, you want to get a promotion, you want to get a raise. Guess what? That's sales to me, because people who are not very, very good at their job, but yet they keep getting ahead. Why? Because they sold the bill of goods to somebody, 100%. And so that's what I'm saying. That's why I'm thinking in my head, man, anybody that wants to get ahead in life, and even as a direct seller, they would so benefit by sales training because they learn humans relations, and
Hmm.
that's why they got to give you a call to learn how to engage with people.
Meaning me.
Yes,
Yes, I agree.
absolutely. One of the things is because it's when I sit with young lawyers and I try to describe to them this aspect of it, the selling part,
Hmm.
I tell them, I take the quote from Seinfeld where Jerry comes to George, for all those that like Seinfeld, and George sitting there, and Jerry says to him, George, I need you to help me lie. Teach me how to lie. And he's like, that's like going to Picasso and asking him, teach me how to paint. And that's where I kind of feel, we're talking about dreams and alignment, everything. With life coaching, you love motivating people. I love motivating people. With sales, I just feel it comes naturally to me. I feel like I was born with it. I've cultivated over time, but it just comes instinctively. Like somebody comes into a room, I can read them in about 10 to 30 seconds, and I know where I'm going to go with it and how it's going to play out. I know you do as well, but you're able to sit and have the patience to teach people the steps and actually get them there. And kudos to you. It's one thing to be able to do it. Another thing to teach it, very difficult.
I appreciate that, but I think kind of teaching's in my blood. Both my parents are teachers, even though they became business people and left the teaching profession. So yeah, I guess it's in the blood. I like doing it. So it's funny. I think everybody should go through a process where they learn what their true inner purpose is and belief. I went through a process too with a life coach a long time ago, and he asked me a very interesting question. He said to me, "Picture yourself on a stage. What message do you have to give?" And so as I thought to myself the message I had to give and the fact that I had a very extensive message to give, apparently was an indication that I am kind of in my life path with what I'm doing now, helping people, teaching, educating, helping them realize goals, visions, dreams, whether it's in real estate, sales, whatever have you. And I'd like to touch back on that in a second.
Yeah.
And then he said, and the reason why I'm describing this is that the audience can maybe go through this themselves and they'll get some insights, because that's what we do on the Chosen Life podcast, right? Is bring insights. He said, okay, now you have a plane waiting for you, a private jet. I'm like, that's pretty cool. And he goes, you have an island all to yourself, beautiful island. You have everything you could possibly want and need. Resources are not an issue, nothing. You can do anything you want. What is the first thing you do when your plane lands on the island?
Grab a pina colada.
It's a good second.
Okay.
First thing I said was, I want to send the plane back and bring my friends. And he said, and so the funny thing is, I used to think I was a lone wolf because I went into a lot of professions before, like I was a financial analyst, revenue strategy analyst, different things. And he's like, you're not a lone wolf. You may think you are, but you're not. You really need people to connect with. And so that was a bit of an insight as well. And so where I'm going to take this back is sales and life coaching. Fundamentally, they come down to the same thing. So if you can do one, you can do the other, I believe. And I'll explain why. When we talk about, you were talking about money, people are working, they're doing whatever they're doing to make money, to do things, to pay the bills. It's not the money. So even when agents go knock on someone's door and they say, do you realize how much equity you have in your home? Because they can see the transaction history. We can see when it was bought and how much it was bought for. And, they think they're making about the money, but instead it should be about, do you see yourself living in this home for the rest of your life? Have you ever thought about a different home? Maybe because, I hear young kids in the background. So it's really our emotions and our inner world and our feelings that drive sales, not the money. And the same thing applies in life coaching, because in Money Mountain, I have people work through their lives in terms of finding passion points where they connect with their passion. So for me, apparently it is working with people and talking to them quite a bit. And then persistence. So when they overcame challenges, because nothing good comes easy. And if you don't know how to persist, you desist. And if you desist, it's done, because you only lose when you stop. And then the last piece is the purpose. And I use analogies like, Buster Douglas knocking out Mike Tyson. And it's because he found purpose in the fact that his mom died 2 days before the fight. And he did it for his mother, because she said, my son's going to knock out Mike Tyson. And she made him promise. And so when he could have got knocked down, he got up, got fighting, and knocked out Mike Tyson. So purpose is the capstone. But all of that, none of that has to do with money. Not a single thing. It wasn't for him to win the money, the prize money, which was pretty big. It was to honor his mom's memory. So they're the same. They're very connected. Everything starts with the heart. Start with the heart.
So I guess let me ask you this as we sum up today's episode, because man, I'm feeling so inspired right now. And we talked about life coaching, talking about sales training. Ultimately, when we're in 2025 now, and you're looking at this year, you're looking ahead. and we're talking about inspiring others and teaching them and motivating them. Where do you see your purpose, George Tremis?
I'm going to continue helping people with my group of realtors and real estate. I'm not going to break away from that, but I really want to help more people realize their money mountains, as I call it, achieve their visions for what they want, for something more than money, something greater than themselves. Um, and whether that's through direct sales training or life coaching or mindset training,
Mm.
that's what I really want to do. And sometimes we need other people to tell us stuff. So on the last episode, you talked about your beard and people told you, and you're like, no, 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 you kept cutting it, right? Because you didn't see that in yourself. Same thing with me. I'm blessed to have people come up to me after and say, forget real estate, forget everything. This is what you're meant to do. Do it. And it's like, do you think so? I don't know. I'm not like Tony Robbins. And that's where that inner voice comes in, right? So, but yeah, I'm going to listen to the people and give them what they want.
And I can't wait to see that book, man. I know it's going to happen. I know it's going to get done, and it's going to be a final product, and it's going to help a lot of people. And you're doing good work on this earth, my friend.
Thank you. Thank you.
Stay tuned. We'll have him back next week. George Tremis, another great episode. You don't know what we're ever going to talk about. And we throw you a bit of loops, but you know what? It's all about living the chosen life at the end of the day.
Absolutely.
Chosen Life Podcast. See you soon.